everyone. Welcome to Party Select. It's a podcast about two dudes and a guy who's their friend, and they talk about the most important thing in the world, and that's video games. My name's Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
I'm your host for today's episode, and I'm joined by Shay.
Yes, 2001, a famously amazing year.
Yep, and Cody.
9/11.
All right, got it out of the way. We're navigating this like a skier down the slalom slopes, just dodging problematic shit left and right. Worst games of 2001. That's what we're here to do. Previously,
we're talking about the worst games of 2001.
Yes, worst games.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's all we're going to talk about. Man, what do you guys think the YouTube algorithm is for 9/11 within the first 45 seconds? Probably not
great.
Probably not awesome. I hope we get the little tag, like the thing that appears at the bottom of YouTube videos that's like the political disclaimer, that's like the educational thing. Like if COVID is mentioned, and now we might get a COVID one. COVID's mentioned, it's like the COVID-19 pandemic was blah blah blah. It's like tries to provide context. What I'm saying is, we're here to talk about video games. Is what we're here to do. Previously on Party Select, we celebrated the best games in the year 2001. Today, we're here to talk about the bottom of the barrel, the stinkiest of the stinkers, the worst smelling video games that came out in one of the worst years. So just kind of bangers all around. We have a list of 13 games that the three of us have put up here. So the way we do this, the way we structure it, we're going to kind of go through the long list and just kind of talk about the games a little bit, kind of let you know what systems they came on, who created them, like who's to blame for these stinky stinkers. And then we're going to go through, we're going to nominate some games that we want to move to the short list. We're going to cut some games, and from the short list, we get to our bottom three. So every year we celebrate the top 5, and then also it celebrates the wrong word, but we're going to celebrate the bottom 3. Honor, that's also the wrong word. We're going to remember the bottom 3.
Remember.
This was definitely an exercise in remembering video games.
Yes, for sure.
Like, oh shit, yeah, that one.
Yeah, like, oh, fuck, that one. Oh, man. All right, so without further ado, let's go through this list of complete bangerangs. Cody, why don't you start us off?
All right. We got Batman Gotham City Racer for the PSX, developed by Sinister Games, published by Ubisoft, 2 words, with a score of 3.5 out of 5 from GameSpot, because this game evidently doesn't have a game rankings or Metacritic score.
Yeah, I went searching when I was filling this table out, and like GameSpot was kind of the only notable outlet that had like an actual score on their review. All my searches came up with, and maybe this is a Google problem, but all my other search results were like really small, like independent or kind of no-name outlets. No offense, like ourselves. It'd be like a Party Select review showing up in a thing. That's not authoritative enough for me.
As a marketing expert, what this tells me is we need to play and review Gotham City Racer.
True.
Well, half of that is already
the
done.
SEO rankings will be off the charts.
Yeah, Cody has already played it, so Cody, it's up to you to write the hard-hitting review of Gotham City Racer.
3.5 seems high. I'll just say
that's
that
too
now.
high. It is too high.
That's an insane.
It was a different time, and B, GameSpot. Am I right? Know what I'm saying?
Not really, no.
No, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't really know either, because I like actually several of the people that are at GameSpot now I really like. So I don't know who was back then, but
yeah, to be fair, this was like 25 years ago.
Totally.
And then we have Batman Vengeance on the PS2, Game Boy Advance, which the Game Boy Advance version is slightly different than the console versions, as most are. GameCube, Xbox, then later launched on Windows as well. Developed by Ubisoft Montreal, published by Ubisoft, and has a 71 game ranking.
Yeah.
Next is Bloodwake for the original Xbox, developed by Stormfront Studios and published by Microsoft with a 71 as well. And then we have Dark Summit, which was an original Xbox and PlayStation 2 and GameCube game. Hit everything. By Radical Entertainment and published by THQ with a 70.
Some pretty close cluster there of scores on the game rankings. Next up,
amongst the higher scores that we tend to talk about, I would say.
For sure, yes. Next up is Frogger: The Great Quest. Came out on PS2 in 2001 and then on Windows in 2002. Developed by Papa Yeti Studio and published by Konami, and it has a score of 33 on game rankings. That's pretty fucking low. That's pretty low. We're going to talk about Frogger: The Great Quest today. Next up is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, talking about specifically the original PlayStation version, which was developed by a different group of people than the other versions of the game, and that's Argonaut Games did the PlayStation 1 version. Croc, shout out. Published by Electronic Arts, has a 67 on game rankings. It is widely known among people that like the Harry Potter games that the PlayStation 1 version is much, much worse than the other versions. So that's why we're going to talk about it.
It does have Wide Hagrid, though, which
Wide Hagrid is a vibe.
Yes.
Yes, that's very true. But back in 2001, we didn't know what memes were. And all we had was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on PlayStation 1. And collecting those jelly beans. Look, we'll talk about it later. Next up is Illbleed on the Dreamcast. It's developed by Crazy Games, published by AIA in the US. Has a game ranking score of 64.
Next is Portal Runner for the PlayStation 2 and the Game Boy Color. This is by the 3DO Company and Handheld Games, and published by the 3DO Company with a 57.
And next is S.W.I.N.E, S.W.I.N.E, with periods in between. Came out on Windows, developed by Storm Region, and published by Ravensburger Interactive Media, with a game rankings of 66.
We then have Shrek
Huge.
On the Xbox and later on the GameCube. Developed by Digital Illusions Canada and published by TDK Media Active with the 51 game ranking.
Media Active is good. I like that. For like one of those names, that's a good one.
Would you pronounce it Media Active? Because it's spelled Mediactive.
Yes, you're right. Media Active. Yeah.
Media Active is less good, though.
That's not.
It does feel less good. You're right.
It's not a fan. Next is Simpsons Wrestling for the PlayStation 1 by Big Ape Productions. That's a good name. And published by Fox Interactive and Activision with a 41 game rankings.
The next one, the biggest stinker of them all, is Super Smash Bros. Melee that came out on the GameCube. Developed by HAL Laboratory, published by Nintendo with a game rankings, bafflingly, of 90. And then last on the list is Vampire Knight for the PlayStation 2 by WoW Entertainment and published by Namco with a 67. Not to put the cart before the horse, but we should cut Super Smash Bros. Melee. That game was on our top 5 list, which everyone should go listen to /watch, and therefore it is disqualified from being on our bottom list. Yes, I agree.
Kyle's hatred aside.
I put it there. Yeah, I despise that video game for reasons that are not the game's fault. I just wanted to shout it out for narrative continuity. Like if we're looking at the Party Select extended universe, and people are like tracking these things, because I know they are at home, because I certainly would be. I just want to be narratively consistent with the version of myself that I put out there. So I had to do that just to.
Well, then I have messed up by not putting Metal Gear Solid on these lists as we
go through time. That's right. Missed opportunity.
That would be my Super Smash.
All right, so that's our long list. Again, we've already cut Super Smash Bros. Melee. So we have 12 games, really, that we're looking at here that we're going to try and cut down to maybe around 5 or 6. We'll see what feels good for the short list, and then we'll get that down to the bottom 3. So looking through, Shay, because your box is on top on the video, I think you have first right for saving or cutting, if you want to nominate one.
Yeah, I think this is a uniquely hard year for me thus far, because obviously Kyle and I had done 95 through 2000 on the Shades Everything podcast.
Right.
And this year, I don't know what happened this year, but like there are only a couple of these games that I've even played. And what was fun, or what is fun, is having you guys add games to the list and then going and looking them up and just seeing how fucking bad many of these games look. Yeah. So I'm like loath to try to cut something I've not played, but of the games I have not played, the one that seemed the most fine to me was Bloodwake on Xbox.
Okay.
So this was, I mean, it's a third person ship to ship combat game.
Yeah.
There's a huge variety of ships with guns. I mean, it's kind of a Twisted Metal like.
Yeah, it was Xbox's Twisted Metal kind of response.
Yeah, and I like the idea of it. Like, it's a cool idea. Again, I've not played it, so I can't speak to like how it feels.
Yeah, it's sort of like Twisted Metal meets Wave Race.
Sure.
I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
On paper, the pitch is pretty good. I just think it's kind of a shitty video game.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like they had a lot of opportunities for like cool, wacky boat ideas, and none of the vehicles were all that particularly interesting, and it just didn't control well. Like the graphics, it had that early Xbox problem of everything was just muddy as hell, and like it just like the resolution was really bad, and everything was fuzzy and just looked terrible. The UI stuff was really ugly as well. Not that the Twisted Metal UI was particularly great either, but it just
kind of that era,
felt like
coming out of the 90s. It's a lot of like bright colored UI, moving UI elements on screen. It's pretty messy, but that was kind of like the era.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It
felt like we have Twisted Metal at home a little bit.
But it's boats, bro.
That's
what makes it cool.
You're right. We have like Twisted Metal at our houseboat.
There you go. we have Twisted Metal at the cottage.
At the cottage.
At the lake house.
Hey, all three of us have been to that cottage.
The cover, the cover art I think is fantastic. It looks super hardcore. The name of the game is Bloodwake, which is so cringy 90s aesthetic that like I'm super into. There are a lot of games on this list that have aggressively cringy names like that. So I don't know, Kyle. I mean, you're the one that's played Bloodwake, but again, like the idea of it, the description of it seemed cool, and even watching gameplay, it seemed the least bad of the ones that I've not played.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And also because like the exercise here is not which games are better than Twisted Metal or worse than Twisted Metal. Like we're looking at these games in relation to each other, and I think Bloodwake was just really subpar and not like bad, not aggressively bad in any really significant way. So yeah, I'm good with cutting that. Cody, I don't know. Do you know anything about Bloodwake?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with cutting that one. All right. I will go next from top to bottom order. I would like to move Shrek to the short list. This like we talk a lot about licensed adaptations video games on our podcast here because there are a lot of them that existed in the 90s and going into the 2000s. This Shrek game fucking sucks. Like it feels the most like someone tricked them into letting them make the game and they'd never made a game before. Like there are just elements that feel very unfinished. Like the objectives have nothing to do with the movie. Like you're not following the events of the film in any coherent way. A lot of the activities that you're doing, not only does it like because of course it feels and controls bad and looks bad, whatever, but like a lot of the UI elements are literally like JPEGs that a kid drew. It's very strange, the choice, and like this game looks awful, feels awful. Has like there's no like if you love Shrek, and I loved Shrek as a kid, there's just nothing here for you, which is like kind of the most damning thing that it could do is like not reward someone who's invested in the franchise in any way.
Yeah, I mean it's a low effort cash grab.
Yeah.
What makes it more offensive is how much at the time I loved the IP and fucking still do. Like we watch Shrek all the time. My
Shrek's
kids
great.
love Shrek.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's not you don't do a lot in this game. Like there's some puzzles and like you jump and punch and kick. It's just like,
why are you laughing? You have a you have a problem with Shrek?
No, I love Shrek.
Okay. I don't get what was funny.
Not the Xbox video game though.
okay.
Yeah, dude, if we were ranking movies from 2001, Shrek would definitely be top 5.
Oh, yeah.
Was that
Although a lot of
was
good
the original
fucking,
Shrek a 2001 movie?
It might not have been. It might have been 2000.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, this game sucks ass.
Cool. We're all in agreement. Shrek moves up.
Yes.
Dope.
It feels weird to be highlighting games green.
Oh, I don't know why.
To note that they're
it
sticking
should
around
be the
on
other
our
way
worst
around.
games list.
You know what? You're totally right. Let's make.
I
that
don't want to
change
confuse
right
us
now.
though.
No, let's make that change right now. Let's rewire our brains. And Shrek is the red. Okay. Cool.
Oops.
Oh man, we messed up the. Oh god. What if I do that and that? Okay. We lost the border on the Shrek box, but it's all good. I fixed it.
God forbid.
I'm a professional. All right, Cody, it is your turn, my good sir.
So I'm gonna go the route Shay went as well and go with a game that I've not played.
Okay.
I looked these up. Who has played Portal Runner? Is that you, Kyle?
I have, yes.
It seems like a pretty alright like army clone or army men.
So it is an Army Men game. It is it is in the universe.
It's like a spin-off, right?
It's a spin-off, yes, where they're very much trying to capture that Lara Croft hot TNA video game character, and like
it works.
It kind of works. But it also doesn't because the game is horrible. It controls like a very uninspired poorly optimized 3D platformer. It's just like some of the worst platforming stuff. It's just really, really bad. I think all of the like the army men-ness doesn't really shine through, because it's so the structure of the game is like going through these portals kind of level to level, and so each level's very different, but only a few of them are like miniature person or action figure in a large environment kind of feeling like the best of the Army Men stuff is. And a lot of the other environments are like, you're in a cave. Like, fucking what? That's not that interesting. So, like, the places you go aren't interesting. I don't think they do anything really. There's a lot of misogynistic, nasty shit about the portrayal of that character. But
shit.
But, like, stuff that she's voicing about herself, like, I forget, there was some line I remember. It's in, like, one of the first levels that is actually, like, little character in a large world. Something about her weight. That's right, because there's like big candy around her or something, and she's like, oh, you know, I gotta get out of here, or I'm gonna gain another 20 pounds or something. Like, it just like gross stuff. And that's like the least offensive of the kind of shit that's in the game. It's just the thing that comes to mind. And, like, yeah, it doesn't do anything really interesting with the Army Men IP, again, because they're not explore. Like, if every level was like that, I might be a little more into it, but they kind of squander the opportunity a bit, and maybe it was just, like, kind of lack of ideas, or thinking that would overstay its welcome or something if it was every level. I tend to disagree. I think that's when Army Men is at its best.
Okay.
Yeah, it just feels like, and also, like, I mean, graphically, the game looks fucking terrible. Like, it looks so bad, dude. The game looks awful. Like, the Army Men games never looked great. I'm gonna be honest. It hurts my soul to say so, but they never graphically looked all that great. This game looks fucking bad.
Okay, well, then we're not going to save that one for right now then.
Okay.
Then I'll go with a different avenue and go with games I have played and do those first two Batman games.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can do a two for here. I think that we push on Gotham City Racer and we cut Vengeance.
I think that makes sense.
Within the last year, played every single Batman game.
Yeah.
And tier listed them all, and had Vengeance at a C, a low C. So obviously it's not great.
And interestingly, like that's totally consistent with the game ranking score, which is interesting.
Yeah. But I had Gotham City Racer as an F. Granted, it is a high F. It is toward the top.
Whoa.
But that game is considerably worse than Vengeance. And
yeah. And I watched you play both of those, and I think I agree with that assessment. Like, again, I don't think Vengeance is good, but Gotham City Racer is real bad. Yes. I don't, do you remember anything you want to like talk about with Racer?
It's not even a race. I mean, really, it's not even a racing game. It's just
you're right. It's super not a racing game. You're totally
it's
right.
It's not racing at all. I mean, you're not
totally right.
Even in like a one-on-one with a villain or anything. It's purely just a drive from one point to another. Sometimes it's actually more like car combat than it is racing at any time. Following, the Joker's car and shooting at it while, like there's this little boss fights. And then if it wasn't that, it was literally just drive from this point on the map to this point, and that's just it. And there was something like 60 levels, right? 60 levels of that, or something like that. Crazy. It went on way too long. It was so uninspired. It's not great.
Yeah, that totally belongs on the short list.
Yeah, it seems horrible.
Yeah, it's
pretty bad.
It's rotten.
And yeah, I mean, we weren't gonna keep both Batman games, so
yeah,
right.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Oh, this is already becoming much harder than I expected because there are so many of these games that are so bad. I think that we should keep Frogger the Great Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, upgraded to short list.
Yeah,
I second that.
I mean, this is of every game on this list. This is probably the most like geared towards kids. To be fair, I mean, like maybe Harry Potter, but like young
or
kids.
Shrek. But yeah, I think Frogger's definitely it's in a child focused market.
I mean, just like the simplicity of the gameplay. But yeah, I mean, a lot of games of this era are just ugly because this is early 3D environments. Yeah. Everything is super polygonal and muddy and flat looking. Even that being said, I think that the biggest problem with Frogger is the vibrancy of Frogger compared to the rest of the game and the environment.
Yeah, it's
he's this like bright green, like cartoony looking character, and the world around him is just like flat texture, muddy.
It's like in a cartoon when you see like a bookshelf and like two books would be lighter color, and you know that those are going to be the ones they're going to be interacted with because they look a little different and lighter than the other ones.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. But yeah, I think it's a bad 3D platformer, of which there are many in this era, but I think this one, given like the style of it, is uniquely bad. And like, I get why they wanted to put Frogger in 3D, but they should have like known better,
Yeah,
like
or just done better. They should have just done better. Because
but like
this was totally marketed to me at the time. Like, I really liked kind of the fantasy adventure kind of stuff growing up. And
that's true. I didn't even talk about like the story of it.
Yeah, so it's like a fantasy medieval adventure starring Frogger. And like, because like I played a lot of like normal Frogger, and I didn't love it, but it was a video game, so I played it. And so this felt like, the promise of it, I guess, was exciting for me as a kid. And then like the thing that you actually play is so frustrating. Because it has a lot of precise platforming that is required, and the controls and the animations and stuff just do not allow for that precision at all. So it is really, the whole game is kind of an exercise in frustration from that point of view. from the platforming perspective. I don't remember much about the combat. It's probably also kind of bad. But yeah, I remember it looked awful, and it just, like, getting around felt terrible. Because
in a world where Super Mario 64 exists, every other platformer
Super Mario 64 came out like 4 years before this game.
Yeah, right.
Like, I compare this game to like a Croc or Spyro. Like, those are more of its contemporaries, and it's so simple compared to those games. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. It's the fantasy stylings is a fun thing. Like, there's clearly thought and effort that went into that, but that's kind of it.
Right. Yep. It was tough making 3D games for a while.
So Frogger, the Great Quest, hops on over to the short list.
Nice. Very nice.
I'm going to log off.
Okay. All right, see ya.
It's the best I got.
All right, so next up, I have to choose. I think I want to move up. I'm sorry. I want to cut S.W.I.N.E.
Really?
Yeah. It has so S.W.I.N.E. is an RTS, a very simple RTS, where the trappings are you play as like a squad of hogs, of pigs that are like in anthropomorphized pigs, and that's what most of the game's humor is based around. It's like pigs in war pigs have the power. That's kind of like all it really leans on. Is kind of like that. It's like someone was drunk and was like, "Hey, war pigs. We should make the video game about that." And they did, and they just didn't have any really good ideas along the way, other than like a couple puns.
Did you say what S.W.I.N.E. stands for? The acronym?
I did not. Do you have it pulled up?
Strategic warfare in a nifty environment. Like, no work was
no
done
effort.
there.
No effort.
The lamest shit.
You go home without a participation award.
Like that made me hate this game in of itself. Like, you can't. Like, obviously they tried to make it so that the name swine is the pun, but you can't fit another pun in there also.
They just didn't try. They just didn't try.
In a nifty environment? What are we doing?
And like that's emblematic of most of the game. It's like they really did just kind of have the one idea. And like the rest of it, it's a super straightforward and simple RTS. I've never beaten it. I have played a little bit of S.W.I.N.E. though. At much later, after the fact, obviously. It's just very uninspired and kind of boring. But I don't think it's like. It's not bad in the way that Shrek, Gotham City Racer, and Frogger the Great Quest are bad.
It doesn't capitalize on the idea of war pigs.
And like that's why it offends me. That's why it offends me as someone who
I like
to incubate those kinds of bits. Right. I like to fully develop those kinds of bits, and to see it squandered so brazenly and openly is a little offensive. But you know, it's that's not the exercise here. So I'm gonna highlight it green, I guess. Ugh. We really should have like a light red and a dark red. Okay, Cody.
They could release a sequel and call it Hoggern Warfare.
Dude,
Lord.
you're fucking cooking, bro.
You're
fucking
just
cooking
silently
right now.
just waiting for a pause. You can
Holy
slide that in there.
shit. Hoggern Warfare? Whoa. Dude.
Pretty good.
And then one of the hogs' names is Soap, and he's the only clean one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on it. All right,
Yeah, I'm trying
Cody,
to find like,
you're up.
is it you have different unit types, and because he's clean, he like can attract the enemy to undermine them. Like he's like a saboteur unit.
Right.
Okay, we're getting there.
We're doing more.
This is immediately becoming a more interesting game.
Hey, we had a podcast game where we could have done this and like created video games together. Maybe we'll have to bring that back someday.
Okay. Man, like I feel like we need to add to the short list because we still only have 3. But
yeah, there are some that I want to move.
I was looking at Dark Summit. That doesn't look that bad.
I think you're right.
That game, like. I know SSX exists, and that was actually on our long list of the best of this year. I actually kind of like the look of this, the like cell shade look of the art style. I think it looks pretty okay.
I think it's the Bloodwake problem, right? Where it's like its contemporaries are much better than it, but it itself is not horrible.
Yeah.
It also kind of like sells a bill of goods it doesn't make good on, like with the title and like the logo work. Like it makes you feel like it's going to be this like angsty metal snowboarding game, and it just doesn't really have that aesthetic to it.
Sure. Okay.
Which was a bummer. And like, so, I mean, I was a huge SSX fan. I was a big 1080 downhill snowboarding fan. This one, it's like a mediocre one of those, but it certainly isn't offensive. I mean, it does have a hot chick on the front, which like that gets you some points, right?
Yeah.
With, what, 13-year-old Shay?
Sure.
But yeah, it's just an uninteresting game. Like Dark Summits, that's a cool ass name.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Like I want to like be racing against like demons or something. Like there's like this occult presence casting spells on a mountain.
Snowboarding game where you're shooting demons while you're
dude. Imagine like downhill snowboarding like during a blood moon, and so it's like red snow everywhere because of the light.
1080 exorcism. Don't skate this red snow, bro. Don't board on the red snow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dark Summit.
It's like as we're leaving the Attitude Era of the 90s, we kept the titles, but we didn't like make good. Like Bloodwake, Dark Summit, S.W.I.N.E. We've got even more on this list. Like Illbleed. Granted, that is like a horror game, so that fits a little bit better. Right. But like, so many of these games have grungy ass names, and they don't make good on the name.
Yeah. Okay, Dark Summit goes off the long list. We talked about Portal Runner already. I kind of said my piece on it. I would like to move Portal Runner up to the short list because it's I don't like Portal Runner.
Yeah, I mean, like the Army Men games. I know, Kyle, you have more of an appreciation for the Army Men games than I do. I do like a lot of the Army Men games, or I did when I was a young child. But like, I wouldn't describe any of them as being like good video games. They were just like fun and dumb and had a really like fun attitude. And Portal Runner doesn't seem to have any of that stuff.
Correct. It doesn't have any of the stuff. None of the magic.
Yeah.
It just got a caked up whatever general's daughter, whatever her name is, I forget. Which that's not nothing. That is something.
That's not nothing. I think we should keep Simpsons Wrestling. I feel like we're cutting some mid-tier ones, and this is one of the few games that I've actually played. We were talking before we started recording that, or I was mentioning that Simpsons Wrestling reminds me of South Park games. Because they're like, South Park games were kind of like cash grabs in a bunch of different kinds of genres. Simpsons was very much the same thing. Simpsons just happened to have a couple of games that were good, like Simpsons Hit and Run. This is not an example of that. This is them taking the Simpsons, putting them in like a 3D sort of, what's it called? Like not top down, but
isometric.
2.5 isometric. Thank you. Yeah. Kind of, you're in a wrestling square, right? So you're able to move around the space, and they get around some of like the bad graphics at the time by doing more of an animated look to the characters.
Are they?
Which I don't think is like
models.
Yes.
Oh.
I don't think that's like the worst looking part of it, because it kind of has this like cell shaded look almost to it.
Okay.
Because they want it to look like the animated characters.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is like the controls of the game, because it's not really like a wrestling game where you've got more specific moves and combos, and it's just like a beat 'em up where you can like grapple and hit and
there's
kick
like
and
items
stuff.
in the arena and stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, and like the health bar, it looks like just a JPEG.
It's just a JPEG.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Shrek UI.
Yeah.
In that way.
Right. Yep. So yeah, it sucks. I was never like hardcore into wrestling games, but in this era is when I was kind of like into wrestling a little bit, and I played some, I don't know if it was like a New World Order NWO game or whatever, but I had some exposure to wrestling games, and I played this and was like, this is not what this is. Like, this is not a wrestling game. It's just a beat 'em up in a boring arena that you're trapped in.
Okay. What I mean, is there anything like an example of how the controls were bad that you can remember?
I think it was the feel of the different moves that you had.
Okay.
Just like sluggish feel. Because like wrestling games of the era, I don't know if they still feel this way, but there's like a weightiness to the movement because you're playing these like big hulky dudes.
Yeah.
But this felt more, one, like you're not playing big hulky dudes. You're playing like Bart Simpson. But it felt more like a lack of responsiveness in the movement than it did like a weight.
Yeah. I wonder how many characters were in the roster, because I know like that was always a big thing. It was like, how many characters?
Remember. There are lots of like Easter eggs and stuff, and like characters that are in the environments that are like watching you, and you go like there are different like the power plant, Moe's, like you do it in a bunch of different areas, but it's still just like in a wrestling ring.
Okay. All right, so there were 16 playable characters. Yeah, you know what? I like
that's pretty decent.
I feel like they kind of got the look down, surprisingly. Yeah. Like for being
that's like the best thing
game.
About the game, I think. Is how they leaned into the cell shaded cartooniness of the characters to make them look like okay in 3D,
right?
Versus trying to model them in 3D, like in the episode where Homer goes 3D. Like that is horrifying to watch.
Yeah, and I feel like that part works. But what I'm looking at gameplay wise, it's like the animations, like you're not connecting with the other person, but you're still hitting the other person. It's like it doesn't have good hit registering. Yeah, hitboxes are bad. Like it looks like the animations for some of the moves, like the way they line up sometimes are really fucked up. Yeah, this UI is atrocious.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that looks a bad video game.
It has like a pick your character, pick the other character one-on-one, and then it has more like a tournament style where you're going through the larger roster to fight, like a Mortal Kombat style. But that's it. Like there's not like a larger story or anything like that.
Okay. You're wanting to move it up?
Yes.
I am A-okay with that. There we go. You get red, Simpsons. Okay, well, I already blew my pick on Portal Runner out of turn. I apologize. So, Cody, you are up.
Despite it having wide Hagrid and funny-looking Draco, which I like a lot. There's actually a lot of really good character models in there.
They're really fucked up.
But like you said, in 2001, we didn't even know what the word meme meant. So
yeah.
And the later releases of Sorcerer Stone are so much better. In fact, I feel like every version of that game is different. Like every single one.
I think they were like all made by different teams, I think.
And this, I think, is probably the worst one of that game.
It is.
So I think that's gotta move on.
Now, we talk a lot about that contextually, right? We can't have it like we can't say, oh, Twisted Metal 2 doesn't make the best games list because Twisted Metal 3 is actually better, or whatever we would say. We have to compare it to the games of the year and the other games that are on the list. But it is like, for context, noting, right, that this Sorcerer's Stone version is the worst version of that game. It's also just a bad fucking bad video game.
I quite honestly, I think the best version of that is still not an amazing game.
Sure.
So
yeah. But I think like amongst its contemporaries of the time, this PS1 version is still a very bad video game.
Yes, for sure.
My memory is that the Quidditch was pretty fun, but maybe that was just my young adult mind
coping.
Being like, I'm in Harry Potter. Because the rest of the game is terrible. Like, this game is so ugly. We talk about the memification of Hagrid in particular, but the whole game is so hideous.
It's
like Final Fantasy VII level without unique art direction.
Yeah.
Man, it's bad. Holy shit.
Like, everyone's a triangle.
Yes. And then they like on a flat texture map, they actually did an okay job of like capturing what the characters from the movie look like.
Yeah.
And then they like post-it note those textures
on a rhombus.
on a fucking rhombus, dude. And that's just their head. It is fucked up. I kind of want more games that look like this game. But just like play like a real video game would play. Just because of how fucked it is. What is the when Fire Escape does their Game of the Year stuff? What is like most fucked fucker? This is a game full of most fucked fuckers. If we strongly encourage folks at home to look up Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on PlayStation 1. If you have not, it's a very special brand of fucked fucker. All right, back to Shay. We have two.
I feel like we should
left.
just talk about. We should just talk because I've not played either of these, so I wouldn't know to cut or keep. But these are both kind of horror games, right?
Yes. So Illbleed.
Well, I guess Vampire Knight it's a light gun game.
Yes, Vampire Knight is a light gun game. Illbleed is a fully 3D original Resident Evil inspired Dreamcast exclusive, I believe. But unlike original Resident Evil, like it's leaning into the campiness in like a tongue-in-cheek way. So Illbleed is it shares a lot of the same kind of gaming philosophies as the original Resident Evil, like collecting items, using it to solve puzzles, some combat here and there. I think the combat is really rotten. It's really terrible. And when you're moving through the environment, so the UI is like a series of senses that you have. Like it's like sight, smell, hearing, and then there isn't a touch one. Oh, it's a sixth sense is like the fourth category. And so like you have like a sense for the supernatural. So like you're moving through the environment and like the different things will ping. Like if it's a thing that you see that like it's got like almost like a heart rate monitor going across these different senses, and it'll ping in different things based on like what's going on around you, and that has like some gameplay implications, which is like kind of an interesting system. But
I was gonna say like
it's an interesting system.
At least it has something interesting that
totally. I don't think all of like the ways that those mechanics affect the gameplay and like what the game expects you to do as a player, I don't think that's always communicated to you very well, because like it has implications on like the puzzles and stuff that you're trying to solve and all that can be pretty obtuse and weird. But I do think for a fully 3D Dreamcast game, it actually doesn't look that bad. It does not look good. I'm not going to sit here and say it looks good. Because in a lot of ways it looks worse than Portal Runner, but in a lot of ways that worse is actually better, because at least it kind of has a point of view. It has like a thing it's going for, which is like this. Illbleed is the name of this abandoned or haunted Saw-like theme park that your character has gone to. Like, I think you're looking for some missing friends or some missing teens or something.
It's always those teens, man.
Yeah, those damn teens, bro. Yeah, I guess like I don't think Illbleed is a good video game. but it has ideas. And I generally tend to respect games that have those, that have ideas.
Yeah.
I just think, like, the whole sense thing, again, interesting idea. It's like the top third of the screen. It's huge. And it's like always up, pretty much. It's like, that's annoying. But yeah, I think there's a lot to like about it. So I don't know that I don't think it moves to the short list, but I did want to talk about it as like a really weird, because it's a Dreamcast exclusive. I feel like not a lot of people played it. Is another thing.
Right. I'd never heard of it. So
okay, I think they did a super replay of Illbleed on Game Informer, if I'm remembering correctly. It's an interesting game. It's not a good game. It is, but it is interesting, and I feel like that kind of saves it.
Sure.
How about Vampire Knight?
Yeah, so Vampire Knight, it's just a bad light gun game. Like obviously it's about vampires, but it has a lot of that like early Capcom campiness. It's not Capcom, but it has like that early Capcom campiness. And yeah, again, it's not good, but looking at the other 6 that we have on the short list, it would not hang around. I would encourage,
if it was at a Dave & Buster's, would you play some of it?
I mean, I'm a big light gun
compared.
So
I mean, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if they've got 8 different light gun games, are you gonna play some Vampire Knight because of the style and the aesthetic of it?
No.
Yeah, that's not good.
I mean, well, because if there are 8 light gun games, one of them is Time Crisis 2, and I'm just gonna be there all night.
Yes. And one of them's got to be one version of House of the Dead.
Yeah, which I would also, that would be my second choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vampire, like
probably
it's
a Jurassic Park.
Ooh,
that was a good one.
Actually,
or an Aliens.
That's Jurassic Park's maybe my second choice.
They even have that 4-player cooperative Halo one that's like Falcon Squad or whatever.
I want a house that has a really big basement, and I want to buy that and put it in my basement. And then anyone who comes over has to play it with me. That's part of the deal. You're not allowed to use the bathroom until we've played the Halo arcade game.
Rough. Well, unfortunately, we're not talking about good light gun games, which I know I asked, but it was more like trying to temperature check compared to other light gun games. And it seems even amongst a genre where there's a lot of like kind of trash, this one doesn't particularly stand out.
Right. I don't think it hits like the highs of the campiness of other light gun game franchises.
Yeah.
And I also think this is, I don't want to say this authoritatively, but this is my memory. And I've certainly been wrong on these podcasts before, but my memory is that Vampire Knight, because it was an arcade game and then ported to PS2 in 2001, I want to say they didn't really do a whole lot to adjust the difficulty settings for it being a console light gun game, because the arcade game very much about burning through coins, like to make you, like to pump you for your money. And the PS2 version, like you can't put more credits in, so it's just really hard and frustrating in that way. I think that's this one that I'm thinking of. But yeah, again, I looking at the other 6 that are on the short list, it's not gonna hit the lows of the other ones.
It's we have a pretty solid short list right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over what the short list is, and that is Shrek, Batman Gotham City Racer, Frogger the Great Quest, Portal Runner, Simpsons Wrestling, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on PlayStation 1. It's a good
Do we each want to pick our 3 and see how we feel?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's pick our 3. Shay, since it was your idea, start us off with your 3.
Sure. I would go, it's surprising me that I would pick this 3, would be Simpsons Wrestling, Harry Potter, and Frogger.
Okay. I would do Shrek, Oh, that's hard. Yeah, Shrek, Frogger, Harry Potter.
I would do Shrek, Batman, Frogger.
All
Not
three
Harry
of us
Potter.
said Frogger.
Yeah, Frogger's a lock.
Okay.
And Shrek would be like my fourth one. Shrek was hard to not include. So
Okay.
I feel like Shrek is a strong contender also. Cody, I'm surprised you didn't say Harry Potter.
I chose Batman over just because I have personal experience playing Batman.
Yeah, I think
Batman
have not
is my
played
fourth.
The PSX. I have not played the PSX version of Harry Potter. I've only seen it. So, you know, I recognize it's not
none of
good,
us said
but-
Portal Runner or Simpsons Wrestling.
No, Shay
I
said
said
Simpsons
Simpsons
Oh,
Wrestling.
okay.
Because
None
that's
of us
my,
said
like,
Portal Runner.
I think we should cut Portal Runner. The difficulty, I know you guys haven't played Simpsons Wrestling, and I want to hear more about Gotham City Racer, because that's the only one on here that I have literally no exposure to.
Okay.
Simpsons Wrestling is the worst game on this list. I'm not saying like it should win our collective whatever, however we want to structure it, but looking at the 6 games on here, taking Gotham City, so the 5 games that I know, Simpsons Wrestling is easily the worst of those 5 games.
So here's what I'll say.
Think of the worst South Park game. Simpsons Wrestling is worse than that South Park game.
Batman Gotham City Racer is not a bad game mechanically, I guess. It works. For what it does, it works.
I think you're kind of wrong. I mean, look, I didn't play it. I just watched you play it.
I don't remember having
seemed really
technical
stinky.
problems with it, though. I just remember it being fucking boring, everything taking way too long, and the game itself was just so long. Like, I never felt like I struggled through it at all. It was just the same monotonous thing over and over. It was like 6 hours long. Like, it was long.
It was long. It was like drive point A to point B on a time limit. And like sometimes it was easy to figure out the path there, but there's not like a good map system. You're just kind of trying to like find your way, and the draw distance, of course, is terrible because it's a PS1 game. But it's like sometimes they would just like arbitrarily throw up like shit on the road so that you like couldn't take the path. So like you go down, you take a left because you think you're gonna be able to wrap around this building. Oops, you can't. So you got to turn around and backtrack, and all the while the timer's ticking down. And it's just like, and it has the big, it has the big arrow, at the top of the screen that tells you where the objective is. I mean, you're like mechanically, there's just nothing happening. What was this the one where like the Joker mobile you had to fight, and you ended up just like slammed against it, and were able to just like spam the button and kill him immediately or something? Like something crazy like that. Like it was like the boss fight towards the end of the game or something was the Joker mobile, and you just like it just kind of broke in a weird way. Yeah, game's kind of ass.
It's not
what
great.
I'll say because it's like Batman animated series stylings, it looks kind of cool. Like the visual style of it looks kind of cool. It's that dark gothic city look,
but
everything is extremely
the entire
black.
game takes place in that city. And it
and
looks
it
the
all looks
same
the same
the whole time.
Yes,
You see nothing
100%.
else for 6 hours.
Yes, I'm watching, minutes of this 6 hour game. It's funny we, mentioned, it's 6 hours. It's so long. Like that's not a long game by today's standards.
Well, yeah.
But if this is the gameplay, I would agree.
Yeah,
that's tough, man.
Yeah, because I mean, there really is like no actual variation in the objective of what you're doing. It is always just drive point A to point B, or blow a dude up.
Yep.
And the blowing a dude up is largely incomprehensible for like how you're supposed to make that happen. It's just like button mashing and prayer.
Also,
it
to
looks,
its
it
credit,
looks shitty.
it does have scenes from the show, which is cool.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah,
as
it
the
does.
cutscenes in between missions.
Yeah,
but then like the gameplay just like doesn't capitalize on that.
It almost makes it
up.
worse, right? Like it's just
right.
like I could just be watching the show right now, man.
And that's actually what we ended up doing because the gameplay was so monotonous.
That's right. You pulled up the show in a little window while you were streaming it to me. And so you were just kind of watching the show while you played it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's funny. Yeah, it's booty. Like I said, that would totally be my number 4. Let's go. What were our picks again? Mine was Shrek, Frogger, Harry Potter.
I had Harry Potter, Frogger, and Simpsons Wrestling.
Okay.
And then I had the first 3. So 2 of us have Shrek, 2 of us have Harry Potter, 1 of us has wrestling, and we all had Frogger.
Yeah. That's why I think Frogger is a good lock, because we all share that one.
I'm not opposed to putting Harry Potter through. Like it definitely looks bad. For sure.
I definitely have I have
honestly,
the most personal attachment to that one.
Yes, I it's like that's the game I'm most passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But also easily the game I would go play if given the option of playing any
of
these
these
games.
6, yes,
Yeah.
I would.
Like I feel like it's kind of the least bad, but it's the game that I played the most of.
Sure.
Yeah, you're kind of right. Ooh. If that's the case, then yeah, you're right. I would probably switch Harry Potter for Batman then. So it would be Shrek, Frogger, Batman for me. Because I think you're right.
And I would swap Harry Potter with Shrek. I would put Shrek on the list as my
So we're
4th.
all on Shrek.
So we're all on Shrek. Okay. Okay. So we have to figure out what our 3rd is going to be and then order them from there. So it sounds like Harry Potter
Simpsons.
is a no.
You're doing this wrong.
I'm
bro.
doing
It's
this.
supposed
I'm
to be
doing this
green.
wrong. I'm doing this wrong. Shit. Okay. So between Batman, Frogger, or Simpsons. Sorry. No, it's. Shit. Batman or Simpsons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I because you guys haven't played Simpsons, and so it's hard to sell you. But I cannot tell you how bad this game is. Not that we need to like use scores or use other
really
things.
Bad.
Dude, it's literally on the Wikipedia page for worst games of the 2000s. Like it's listed as one of the 10 worst games of the 2000s.
Here's something that's interesting. Gotham City Racer fucking sucks. It sucks. It's bad. I think it's mostly bad because it's so boring.
Yes. It's not mechanically.
I think you're right. Like
the driving looks pretty bad though.
But it's you can make it work. But it's the combat that really is nonsensical and kind of like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing to make this happen kind of a thing. That's the part where it's really bad. Simpsons looks like 100%.
It's janky.
A bad time. Yeah.
Like it's sluggish and janky.
That is a worse kind of bad in my opinion than just something that's boring.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm good with that. Let's order these.
I feel like is that the order?
I think that might be the order. I mean, all 3
Frogger
of us
at
had
1,
Frogger
Shrek
first.
at 2. Because again, if we're just literally going by which is the worst game on here, I think it's Simpsons Wrestling.
Shrek might be
so like
worse
how do
than
we
Frogger.
want to wait? How do we want to wait? Like Frogger and Shrek, a game all 3 of us have some exposure to, compared to Simpsons where you guys don't, versus literally what is the worst game, which I think is The Simpsons. Because for a collective list where there's passion, Simpsons probably belongs in 3rd. Because we haven't with Shay, it's everything. With it just being Kyle and I, we could play fast and loose, like whichever ones we were passionate about, because there's just 2 of us. But I feel like with 3 people, like the way we treat best games is always it's weighted, like the bias is towards games that more of us care about, one way or the other. But we haven't done worst games before with 3 of us.
I think I would still like to weight it that way, because otherwise it becomes, especially in this case where it's like we haven't played it, it becomes difficult to make an objective decision. We just kind of have to
but I think back to examples of that happening with like the Cyberdecks of the world, the Cyberdillos of the world, where there are games that are so bad that they transcend.
They transcend that for sure.
And I think, like, to me, Simpsons, having played Simpsons is one of those games that transcends bad to being like unplayable. But Frogger's fucking horrible.
Frogger's bad.
I think Frogger should win.
I think Frogger, yeah.
Okay.
Because, at the end of the day, Shrek is still Shrek, and we love Shrek, so.
But, like, man,
I mean, I love The
game,
Simpsons, but
that
I'm not
Shrek
playing
game,
The Simpsons wrestling.
That Shrek game's fucked.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I do think it's better than Frogger, though.
Okay.
Because they are pretty similar style of games.
So is it Frogger, Simpsons, Shrek?
Yeah,
probably.
Maybe that's the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try it on for size.
It reminds me of the Pac-Man 3D game.
Mm.
That game was
Pac-Man
like,
World,
I remember playing that
Pac-Man
game and being
World,
like, this is the worst game I've ever played. Like, as a kid, being like, this is the worst game I've ever played.
Yeah, you know what? I'm good with those 3. That feels good.
I think it's good balance.
Yeah. Does that sparkle with everyone?
Oh, it sparkles.
Okay.
The hell is that? What is spark? What
from South Park? About? You fair weather South Park fan, loser. All right, the bottom 3 games of 2001. The third worst game is Shrek for the Xbox. The second worst game is Simpsons Wrestling for the original PlayStation. And the worst game that came out in 2001, scientifically, definitively, objectively, is Frogger the Great Quest.
Congratulations.
Which was a plague on every platform it released upon.
Just don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't take your game that works and try to put it in a completely different genre like that. Just don't do that. Like, no one is asking you to do that, so don't do it.
I think that has borne fruit before.
When it is an IP and a character that has depth to it already.
Yes.
Frogger is like a TI-83 calculator game, bro.
Yeah, bro. Hell yeah. Well, you're telling me you don't know all the extended universe, like Frogger's friends?
I don't.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know.
I mean, I do thanks to Frogger the Great Quest, saving the princess.
Oh yeah, there is a princess. Oh.
But yeah, the flies in the cars. No, I don't know. I don't know the lore behind those. The logs. Where do the logs come from? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of deforestation.
I don't want to know,
upstream.
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's our bottom 3 games of 2001. Hey, every game that we talked about here today is a bad game, with the exception of Super Smash Bros. Melee. It's
True.
a dishonor just to be nominated, and the creators of these games should look back in pride, because you managed to ship a video game at all, and that's a fucking miracle.
And you learned something.
We all learned
gained
something.
Skills. We are making fun of the games, not the humans that make them.
That's correct.
Except in very specific cases.
When they have earned the derision through other reasons.
Yes.
For sure. All right. Well, hey, Shay, Cody, thanks for coming along with me on this wild ride through time and space. It's been great. It's been an honor. We're going to keep doing more of this month by month.
Hell
until I just can't stand it anymore.
Which may be happening sooner rather than later.
Maybe happening sooner. Hey, join us at the beginning of next month for the June flagship episode of the Party Select podcast. We're gonna be talking about some fun stuff, like the Summer Game Fest is next month, so we'll probably be talking about some things that we think are gonna be going on there.
Yeah.
In June, we're also gonna have our pickups for our Fantasy Critic League that the three of us have been doing. Spoilers, my league or my developers not doing super hot, so we'll see if I can make a dramatic comeback in the latter half of the year. And then next month we're gonna have the best games of 2002 to look forward to. So back on the positivity train. Those at home or wherever you are listening or watching, hi, there you are. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about our list. Were there any games that you think are bad from 2001 that we didn't touch on? Do you also think Super Smash Bros. Melee is a bad game? Let me know so I'm not on an island, please. Also, let us know.
But are there other games you would defend?
Yeah.
Are there games on here that you would defend? I would love to hear from you.
I would love to hear your completely incorrect opinions on games on this list that you would defend. You could also email us at partyselectpod@gmail.com if you're not into commenting or if you're listening to the audio of this. There are multiple ways to get a hold of us. Let us know. If you send an email, we'll read it on the next flagship podcast and talk about it and laugh at you or laugh with you, depending on the content of your email. All right, let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Love y'all at home. And peace out.